Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now this Terence Crawford situation, what is going on with Bob Arum and Terence Crawford? Because they're stood there and Bob Arum is saying how great he is, how Errol Spence won't beat him, how he's the best in the division. Then he goes and says he's not going bankrupt promoting Terence Crawford. So he is basically saying that Terence Crawford needs to self-promote more. Even though he is his promoter, that is his job. So effectively what Bob Arum is telling Terence Crawford to do is his job. But then again, Terence Crawford is a fighter. That's what he does. He fights in the ring. He's not supposed to be the one promoting himself outside. That is why people like Bob Arum have a job, because that is what they are supposed to do. Now, does a fighter have to self-promote? Yes, to a certain extent, yes they do. With social media, there are many tools in which they can do that. Self-promote themselves to get themselves out there. But there are ways and ways of going about that. You don't put your fighter down on live television. You're supposed to build them up. Now I know that Bob Arum was building Terence Crawford up and saying how great he was, but then to go from that to say that he needs to start self-promoting himself, otherwise he cannot afford to pay him the kind of purses that he is against fighters such as Amir Khan and Kell Brook. Because let's be real, Terence Crawford is top 3 pound for pound, so he does deserve a certain amount of money when he fights, but then again, he does need to be warranting that kind of purse. But that does stem from the media draw that they are. Now, this is what Bob Arum had to say about his comments towards Terence Crawford. Would I say that was wrong? I'll show him the money that we've lost on his fights. I'm no longer in the business of losing money on Terence Crawford. So that is what Bob Arum has had to say about this Terence Crawford situation, and it is one that he has built up himself. Obviously he cannot afford to pay Terence Crawford if he's losing money, that's fair enough. But as I said, there are certain ways of going about it and explaining that to someone, not doing it publicly like he has. So I would say that after this is the end of the relationship between Terence Crawford and Top Rank. It must be. I think that he has until late next year, I believe, on his contract. That's what, maybe 2 fights? If Top Rank want to give him 2 more fights, it might only be 1, because if they are losing money, they're only going to do 1 fight and run down their contract. Maybe that won't even happen. But Eddie Hearn has said that he would be interested in signing Terence Crawford when his contract is up, because he's brilliant. He's a brilliant fighter, brilliant guy, funny, and people do like him, those who know about him. But the problem still remains. Is he a big enough draw in order to pay him the kind of money that he deserves? Because Terence Crawford is one of the best fighters of today. The problem is his profile does not match that. So he deserves a certain amount of money each time he fights. But you have to wonder whether he warrants that considering his profile and the tickets, the pay-per-views that he is able to sell. So that could be a problem for Terence Crawford going forwards, especially if he wants to look for a new promoter and a platform. Maybe he does need to self-promote a little bit more, but that's for Bob Arum to pull him aside after the media and to say that quietly, not on live television. That probably is a step too far for Bob Arum and probably has ruined this relationship with Terence Crawford, which I don't think he even cares about. Now, if Terence Crawford were to find a new platform and promoter, I believe it should be and probably would be PBC, because if he goes to Eddie Hearn, who's he going to fight? There is very few welterweights on Eddie Hearn's platform and signed to his promotion, so the best decision for him to make would be to go to PBC, because there are fighters such as Sean Porter and Errol Spence. The Errol Spence fight is the main one, so if he does want to get those big fights and be in those big money fights, because that is the way he can build his profile. If he's not the best self-promoter, if he doesn't want to do that himself, because not all fighters do. I mean, Terence Crawford is a great guy, he's funny and all of that, but some fighters just don't want to do that side of it. They just want to fight and that's it. Their personality comes out to a certain extent, but other than that, it's just business. So if Terence Crawford just wants to fight and just let his results speak for themselves, then he does need to go over to PBC and fight fighters such as Sean Porter and Errol Spence, fights that everyone will be interested in and captivate fight fans. That is how Terence Crawford will grow his profile. Being on Top Rank, there are very few fights that they are able to make. They can make fights such as Amir Khan and Kell Brook. The problem is with those fights is he has to be paid a certain amount because he's a pound for pound great, but very few people are interested in those fights because Amir Khan, let's be real, was past it. Kell Brook, I wouldn't say he was past it, but he definitely wasn't the best Kell Brook in there with Terence Crawford. Not far off though, because I believe that Amir Khan was more washed than Kell Brook was when they both fought Terence Crawford, but still, those kind of fights compared to a Sean Porter or Errol Spence fight, they do not even match up. That is why Terence Crawford should, I believe, sign for PBC and not Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn cannot get him those kind of fights. The problem still remains. How do you get Terence Crawford fights, and when you do, how do you pay him the kind of money he deserves when those fights don't really warrant that kind of purse? That is the big problem behind all of this. If Top Rank had more top welterweights to match Terence Crawford with, then I don't believe they would have this same kind of problem, and that problem will just move over to Matchroom if he signs with Eddie Hearn, so PBC would be the best option for him. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts on this? Bob Arum's comments towards Terence Crawford, and what do you believe that Terence Crawford should do next? Do you believe that he should be looking for a new promoter, and namely the PBC platform, for fights such as Errol Spence and Sean Porter? Guys, drop your thoughts on this in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.